earthquake, Allstate was sued because reports have been changed to indicate that damage was unrelated to the earthquake and thus not reimbursable by the homeowner's policy. That was in 1998. Or how about Hurricane Katrina in 2007? In 2007, a federal grand jury found that Allstate had altered adjustment and engineering reports to defraud homeowners and the federal government. Exact same thing that these gentlemen testified to here today. They also found, a judge also found, that Allstate had paid $3 million, 2.8 to be exact, to hire a forensic company that falsified engineering reports. Exact same type of behavior that these gentlemen testified to today. Then there was Superstorm Sandy, where Allstate was accused of engaging in widespread falsifying of engineering reports to benefit insurers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But what's amazing is it's exactly what these two gentlemen said is still happening in your company. Now, your testimony is that none of this ever happened?
My testimony is that I wasn't involved with that.
Yeah, but you're responsible for it now, and you're here before this committee.
Correct.
So, this happened. You acknowledge that this has been a pattern in practice of your company since the 90s?
It's not a pattern in practice today.
What, you changed it? You're saying you rooted this out at some point.
That's not the way we handle claims.
It has been the way you've handled claims historically. We've seen it from the 90s through the 2000s, and then we had today 2 additional witnesses here under oath, and we have multiple whistleblowers and written testimony who say it's exactly the same thing. You haven't changed a lick. We've got your word against everybody else's. Why should we believe you?
Because I'm telling the truth, Senator.
Right. Right, just like you apologized to Miss Miguel. Right? I mean, it's really extraordinary. You're asking us to look at all the evidence and don't believe our lying eyes, right? I mean, just ignore the fact that your company has over and over and over again been sanctioned, lost lawsuits, paid out multi-million-dollar verdicts, all for this exact same thing: falsifying reports, interfering with adjusters' reports, hiring firms to send in false estimates, all to pad your profits. And you're just sitting here saying it never happens. Don't believe it? It's just an alternate reality, isn't it?
I don't believe so, no.
On what basis? What world do you live in?
On the basis that I lead this organization every day.
Right, which means you're responsible for it. Which is why I can't believe you wouldn't come in here and take responsibility for what your company is doing. I can't believe you wouldn't turn around and say to Ms. Miguel, we will make this right no matter what. And I can't believe you won't take responsibility for the fact that your company, as we've heard from sworn testimony, is continuing to engage in this behavior, and now is also engaging in retaliation. It's a pattern in practice if I've ever seen one, Ms. Fiato. It's unbelievable. Do you have anything else you'd like to say in defense of Allstate?
It's not our pattern or practice.
We've just seen the record, and it is a hellscape of fraudulent behavior to punish your policyholders, rip off the public, rip off the federal government too, by the way, which you did multiple times in past years when you moved over funding and claims to the federal government, so FEMA would have to pay more, the taxpayer would have to pay more, and you would have to pay less. And I have to tell you, it's worked great for you. I mean, your profits are unbelievable. What do you make?
I'd be happy to discuss that after.
Well, you can tell us. I mean, what do you make a year? Your CEO makes $26 million a year. What do you make?
I'm not comfortable discussing that in this forum.
Why not? I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable either if I represented a company like this.
If
you won't tell us?
I won't.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, Sfiato, all I can say is I think your testimony here today is pretty shameful, just like I think your company's behavior is pretty shameful. Mr. Keating, let me just ask you, does State Farm deliberately underpay claims? Do you engage in that behavior?
No, Senator, we do not.
Let me read to you a letter from a whistleblower who's a longtime State Farm
I knew State Farm.
employee.
I knew they were doing this shit.
Without objection, I'll have
Here's the
down
proof,
for the
Fred.
record.
You don't want to set. You don't want
Says the following.
to sue
I
your
observe
friend
routine
now,
and
huh? For
deliberate
fucking
underpayment
me
of
over.
claims, including the consistent
Fucking you
removal
over
or
and fucking
alteration
me
of
over.
essential line items. These were not occasional discrepancies, but
Let's
part
hear
of
that
a
again, 'cause I was
broader and
talking.
consistent pattern of.
Boom.
Just
There
like
we
I
go.
think your company's behavior is pretty shameful. Mr. Keating, let me just ask you.
This is 1 day ago, guys.
Does State Farm deliberately underpay claims? Do you engage in that behavior?
No, Senator, we do not.
Let me read to you a
Liar.
letter from a whistleblower who's a longtime State Farm employee adjuster. And without objection, I'll have this entered now into the record. The whistleblower says the following: I observed routine and deliberate underpayment of claims, including the consistent removal or alteration of essential line items. These were not occasional discrepancies, but part of a broader and consistent pattern of lowballing estimates. What's your response to that?
That's not consistent with the State Farm I know, and I'm certainly not familiar with the individual that's making those
Look at his
allegations.
eyes.
Would you
Look at
ever
him look away.
alter factual findings from an inspection report like Allstate
No,
does?
we would not do that, nor do we direct anyone to do that.
Well, this same whistleblower says, and I
Liar.
quote, more concerning was the alteration and deletion of factual findings in my reports. In many cases, I documented legitimate damage to vinyl siding that warranted full elevation replacement, only to have the estimate changed to reflect piecemeal spot repairs, contrary to manufacturer specifications and professional standards.
Respectfully, Senator, I'm unaware of the details, surrounding these allegations, but we certainly follow the recommendations of, based on the standards as that person referenced.
Do you retaliate against whistleblowers?
He can't even.
No, we do not.
Yes, you do.
This witness says, and I quote, it is also my professional concern that whistleblower retaliation is a very real threat within the State Farm system. Others before me have experienced severe consequences for speaking out, and I have reason to believe similar retaliation could result in the end of my ability to work in this industry, end quote. What's your response to that?
So again, I can't speak to the specifics because the individual is not here, or I don't know of the specifics, but it's inconsistent with the State Farm that I know and that I've experienced for
Bullshit.
32 years.
It's amazing
consistent
to me
with
that
what
both
I
of your
know.
Testimonies are very consistent in one respect, which is that it's a sudden case of amnesia before this committee. You've never heard of any of the stuff that's happened. You're unfamiliar with your own company. In your case,
Go,
Mr.
Senator
Fiala,
Hawley.
before like yesterday. There's no knowledge whatsoever. To say it's awfully convenient. That witness, that sworn testimony, that oath, it's amazing how often it produces amnesia with these hearings. Sadly, your policyholders don't have it, and they're suffering because of it. I'm sorry, is your testimony that neither of you don't do business with U.S. Forensic? Go ahead, Mr. Peter.
I'm unaware of that firm that you're referring to.
You're not familiar with it, Mr. Fiala?
Same.
You're not familiar with U.S. Forensic?
I'm not familiar with U.S. Forensic.
U.S. Forensic, which has been sued multiple times, was found civilly liable for widespread fraud in Katrina and Superstorm Sandy. Both of your companies have contracted with U.S. Forensic for years, for decades. But your testimony is today that you're, per what I think you just said to the ranking member, you no longer contract with U.S. Forensic. Is that right? I want to be clear on this. Is that right, Mr. Fiala?
I don't know if we do.
Okay. Mr. Keating?
Same
Okay.
thing. I'm
Okay,
unaware.
so in other words, the testimony is, Senator Kim, that maybe they continue to contract with fraudsters, I think. They can't recall, which is, I think, the theme of today's testimony. I'll just end by saying, in Missouri 2 months ago, we lost 12 people to tornadoes. A lot more people than that lost their homes. And that happens in my state, sadly, every year, every tornado season, every flooding season. And in those times of crisis, these good folks look to you for help. And I'm sad to say that more often than not, they're disappointed. And it shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be victims of fraud and abuse. They shouldn't be treated the way that Mr. Vitale and his wife were treated, Miss Miguel and her husband were treated. People in Missouri and the people of the country deserve better. And given the profits you're making, I certainly think you can afford it. With that, we will conclude today's hearing.
There it is, guys. 1 day ago. Proof. Insurance companies
Senate Judiciary
are...
Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism is called to order. I want to welcome everybody to today.
Fred, you don't want to sue your friend, huh? You don't want to sue your buddy? He must be giving you some kickbacks. My guess is you got paid for the claim, and that's why you're not contacting me. Okay. All right. Well, the proof is right there in the pudding. They have been sued multiple times using U.S. forensics. That claim adjuster was here, had the fucking audacity to say that the house was habitable when the whole house had been flooded with water. So the floor was completely damaged. Water had fallen on a lot of, ruined everything in the living room, ruined electronics, flooded in here on the floor. So anything on the floor, surge would happen and would fry, like an electronic speaker, fried my monitor, a computer, fried equipment, the bed had to be thrown out, the bedding, some of my clothing, all the living room furniture in the, kitchen. There was a couple of side tables in the walkway in the hallway. A lot of things were damaged, so, and I had to live somewhere else. And I had to pay for it out of pocket with all the promises that I would be completely reimbursed for everything that was fucking damaged. Everything that I spent fixing Fred's house, because the house was in his name, the insurance was in his name, so how fucking convenient. And his insurance adjuster is his buddy. I find that kind of weird. And then, he's the landlord, I'm paying rent, I'm paying the bills, I pay to live here. I'm honoring our agreement that we have in writing, and then I have to go live somewhere else for 4.5 months at my expense? I don't think so. There's going to be another lawsuit filed. I don't think so. I don't deserve this. This has ruined my life financially. I'm completely ruined. Yep. I have no choice. I've given this man 18 months to do right by me, reimburse me, get me reimbursed, sit down with me so I can submit the receipts. It's just bullshit. Everything has been a lie with this man and the insurance company. All of them. I think all of them do this, but Allstate and State Farm are notorious for being a couple of the worst. I think USAA isn't much better. USAA closed my claim before I could even submit a receipt as the renter. So whatever is covered under my rental policy, I didn't even get a chance to submit a receipt. This is a legitimate claim. Brand new roof. Storm happens November 2023. 20 feet of the ceiling collapses. This is sudden, accidental, catastrophic failure. And that's what we have insurance for. Storm happens, doesn't matter. So, well, I don't see any tiles out of place on the roof. I said, you don't have to. It could have been the penetration points, and that's exactly what the roofers said. The penetration points, the water came through there, sat on the ceiling, and collapsed it within days. Days. They tried to say it was a maintenance issue. I said, if it was a maintenance issue, the whole house would have been leaking water. It's a brand new roof. He said, well, get us a copy of the check. Prove it. We did. I did. But Fred's also standing in the way of me getting justice, getting reimbursed, and I am, God, look at my face. I'm so upset about this. My blood pressure's going through the roof. Fucking liars. My credit was 720. It is now 460. I'm upside down on my bills because I paid for it out of pocket with the promise I would be reimbursed, that it was a legitimate claim. All is well. I should have never trusted my friend. Stupid me. I'm a brain injury survivor, and I guess I just don't always perceive all the danger. I feel so taken advantage of, so lied to, real estate contracts broken. Then he just puts the house in my name with nothing in writing, and the whole house is in a state of disrepair. I had to go through the whole winter without heat. I have no gas. I can't take a hot shower. I've spent the whole winter just sick, mostly. Freezing, trying to stay warm. I have to take a cold shower. It's painful. My back was fractured in 5 places. I've got arthritis. It's painful. You don't want ice cold water on your head in the wintertime. You can get pneumonia just like that. Not in the mountains of New Mexico. If there's any lawyers out there that are willing to help me, I'd be grateful. Thanks. God bless you.